Fisher is in Ramallah in the occupied West Bank. I understand, Alan, there is video and it raises some questions, right?
Well, the Israeli army moved into Barta to apparently remove vehicles that they had decided were illegal. Now, clearly that upset a number of the locals. There were some exchanges. At some point in the video that we see, you can see a man trying to get into his car and drive away. Now, the Israelis have said that a female soldier was struck by the car. They perceive this to be a ramming incident, and they opened fire, and 2 people were injured. But certainly from all the video that we have seen, and we don't have all the angles, but from all the video that we've seen and from speaking to people on the ground, they say this was not a ramming incident, that perhaps the car did brush the woman as the man in the car was trying to get away. And they feel that the response from the Israeli army was perhaps much more than was absolutely necessary. This is just one of the number of incidents we've had in the West Bank over the last few hours.
So they're trying to capture this man who they think
say that they arrested 11
purposely
people on the West Bank Friday night, Thursday night.
brushed up against an Israeli woman.
All of them were wanted, and a number of them were carrying munitions.
They
Obviously,
shot him.
that the Israelis say they shouldn't have had. But we're also hearing reports from Dora, which is near Bethlehem, of one young man who was trying to get through a checkpoint, perfectly legal, but for some reason an Israeli soldier didn't like what he was doing or what he was saying and decided to beat him up, and he is in hospital and he has been injured. And there is a worrying story too from Qalqilia, where the Israeli army say they were looking for 2 people in particular, couldn't find them, and so they arrested these men's fathers. So the 2 men were held, and they were told they would be held until their sons gave themselves up. And this sort of thing has been criticized in the past.
So they can't find the people they're looking for, so they arrest family members who have done nothing and hold them until the sons give themselves up.
For arrest. They say is against Israeli law as well as humanitarian law.
All right, we'll leave it there. Thanks so much, Alan Fisher. Now, since October the 7th, Israeli arrests of Palestinians have surged both in Gaza and the occupied West Bank. Human rights groups are concerned some of the prisons set up after the war began are violating international human rights law and increasingly subjecting Palestinians to abuse. Imran Khan reports from the occupied West Bank.
Surrounded by pictures of prisoners, both former and current, the Palestinian Prisoner Society keeps track of those arrested and those released. Since October the 7th, that task has become even more challenging, and more they're hearing about women and children held in jail after being arrested in Gaza. Amani Sarane takes testimonies from those released. She tells us about one female prisoner from Gaza.
Throughout the period of her detention, she remained blindfolded and with her legs and hands tied. The prison, according to what she said, is a completely open barracks with no rooms, and about 30 other female prisoners are detained in the same place.
The United Nations has said on December the 16th it received numerous reports of mass detentions, forced disappearances and ill treatment of prisoners from northern Gaza, including women and children who are specifically protected under the Geneva Convention, the law of armed conflict. Israel isn't granting any organisation access to the detainees, a fact the Red Cross says
they make them give up their shoes.
International humanitarian law.
We are not currently getting access. We are speaking to Israeli authorities and reminding them of their obligations under international law, and this includes for Palestinians as protected persons under the Geneva Conventions.
Terrible treatment, one person to another. Kind of reminds me of when they collected the clothes of the Jews before they put them into the showers to kill them.
They say that anybody that's been interrogated that isn't linked to the group is released without charge. But international and local human rights groups say that the testimony they're getting from people released from places like this and others across the occupied West Bank show a significant cause for concern when it comes to international humanitarian law.